Aston, are we good on your side? All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Sacred Voices. I'm your host this evening, Sarah Day. Super excited to be here this evening. So glad to see your lovely smiling faces. Thank you so much for coming out. Tonight we are here at Denver Community Media. Super excited to be here. Please do not forget, June 7th is the first Friday open mic at Lighthouse Writers Workshop. June 14th, we'll be right back here with our featured guest, Godwin. This evening, our featured guest will be Alex. We're super excited to hear what Alex is bringing out this evening. A lot of folks are going to be streaming, and we have some folks here too, so super excited for that. Sacred Voices mission statement. Sacred Voices promotes unity and healing among Black, Indigenous people of color, BIPOC plus, communities through creative expression while empowering youth to find their voice, power, and become leaders within their communities. Just a quick reminder, performance spots for the open mic are going to be about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll signal you in the back of the room if necessary. However, I really want to hear what everybody has to say tonight, right? The beginning of our show is actually going to feature Black Market Translation. All right. They tried to trick me earlier and say transition and transgressions, and I got it, Black Market Translation. So before they come out, just a quick reminder as well that if you swear a lot, even though we are recording, we will not be able to post those clips to social media, just out of respect for the audience, right? But we're super excited this evening. So we had some technical difficulties, but we moved past that. And so now everybody is just smiling in here. Quick mic demonstration. If you do want to take the mic out of, which maybe we shouldn't tonight, I would say just leave it alone. Especially with everything going on. So we'll just leave it here. If you do need to adjust, you can just twist this right here or flag me down. I'll come help you out. And so with that being said, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Sacred Voices Denver, YouTube at Sacred Voices, TikTok at Sacred_Voices, as long as TikTok is still legal, and the website at sacred-voices.org. And with that being said, Black Market Translation, would you love to start this evening off for us? You guys are in for such a treat. Please give it up for Black Market Translation.
The ancient poets tell me what they know of suffering, of misery. And who are we to claim that we have monopoly on world ending? Have floods not erased entire cities, left bodies in bards to write mythologies from? Terrific tragedy. We are not the first to see the high human cost of disease, of brutality, of genocide. Read history and skim the news, a brilliant blue pattern, a beautiful bruise. The ancient outsiders to find themselves soothed by breeze of seasons. Nature in her reason, waste no energy, sipping on sorrow of unseen tomorrows, or living in hurt of unhealed wounds. At least it seemed not so, though the droughts came and took their toll. The sixth mass extinction has only recently come, and me and mine, we have our hands wrung. We speak of the economy as its own entity, blame the cannibalism of capitalism for our lack of ingenuity. Armchair activists in a house on fire. Our rallying cries have become tired and weak. The Moloch of industry has left us meek, our skills daily wasted to rent some small basement. The creaking foundations of our dwindled inspiration. The bruise keeps spreading. I dream of dead soil. Had I but some hope, I'd be fool not to toil. In some effort to be fruitful and feed my hungry species is starving for greed. I throw a daydream solution. I know not how to human. I read ancient words, drink in their keen verse, pray progeny someday has more than curse when reading the whole of this haunted generation. If reading's still something we have time to teach children. My deep fear is not that there will be no more earth, for the earth is more resilient than these children of hers. My fear is for suffering, which doubtless will come. My heart says that progress will be undone. My ignorance is vast, my knowledge so small. I control corporatocracy, nary at all. Speaking small comfort in couplets and verse, I keep reading these ancient words. We are not new to evil, no stranger to pain, but in this brave moment, I fear we've lost more than gained. Does it sound good out there? All right, it's good to see you. It's good to be here. I'm Eli, and I like words. I eat them all the time. Nice. My hunger is astounding. It takes thousands to feed me. Harvesters of cabbage, fermenters of kimchi, roasters of peanuts, preservers of jelly, loggers of forests, planters of palm oil trees. My hunger is astounding. It takes thousands to feed me. Rice farmers are waiting, geneticists tinkering, butchers of cattle daily are toiling, all to appease me, all to feed me my gluttony. I never look the animals I eat in the face. Never once have I hunted, but oh, the flesh I've tasted. I have gotten fat on the blood of the lamb, sucking the marrow from the bones, a bloody-handed Uncle Sam. Bananas cost much more than this $1.50. Labor unions organize, but they have yet to starve me. There are migrant workers picking fruit in the dead of night, 'cause heat waves are lethal in the broad sunlight. My hunger is astounding, it takes thousands to feed me. Orchard owners of almond trees, semi-truck drivers, trailers full of bees, clippers of arugula and patent office employees. My hunger is astounding, it takes millions to feed us. Millers of wheat, landlords of bakeries, we have waged war, exterminated species for this hunger, gnawing hunger for this ache in our bellies. We have caught fish, caught algae, caught fevers. We have wielded tractors, beakers, and cleavers. We have turned meadows into sprawling cities. Factories, 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 factories. Ancient jungles are now cattle ranches. All the other species are picking up crumbs. All the other species are picking up crumbs while we shovel empty calories into our children and feel numb. Our hunger is astounding, it takes millions to feed us. Preservers of seeds, manufacturers of plastics, makers of cheese. Hunger is astounding. Tried fasting, tried coffee, tried farming and foraging. I barely whet the appetite of this hunger. This hunger. If it were only my two hands that were ever to feed me, I'm certain to starve in a matter of weeks. Harvest tomatoes, sour cherries, eat the peaches, the wild greens, onions, berries. But when winter unfurls, I'd be gnawing on dry seeds. Yeah, I'm grateful to the thousands, to the millions that feed me, the hunters, the gatherers, even to industry. I've no plans to stop. I plan to keep eating, but this hunger is astounding. I'm not used to you guys stopping. All right. Oh, man. All right. Let's do the classic. Treat me like you treat the earth. I want you to stake me, claim me, stick your drill deep into me, horizontally frack me, spew your poisoned water into me, spill my deepest lubricant upon me, then call me ugly. I want you to mine me, explode all over me, mushroom cloud my head with ideas of decency. I want you to strip me of every native plant, tree, and species, pave over me, then call me pretty. I want you to plow me, plant me, poison me, monoculture and enslave me, steal my young before they've gone to seed. I want you. like you treat the earth. Treat me like you treat the earth. Want you to stake me, claim me, stick your drill deep into me horizontally. Frack me, spew your poison water into me. Spill my deepest lubricant upon me. Call me ugly. I want you to mind me, explode all over me. Mushroom cloud my head with ideas of decency. Strip me of every native plant, tree, and species. Pave over me, call me pretty. I want you to plow me, to plant me, to buy me, to fashion me. Divide and conquer. Treat me like you treat the earth. Treat me like you treat the earth. Treat me like you treat the earth. Suddenly understand 2,000 years of humanity. Mother Earth was simply playing out a rape fantasy. My fear is not that I'm capable of ending my own life. My fear is that I will tenaciously cling to a life that ought not be endured. My fear for the safety of my loved ones will have me capitulate, negotiate, and subjugate others. That I will look the other way in the interest of safety, of comfort. My fear is that I will spoon feed my baby bananas bought by the blood of laborers who lost their reasonable demands of dignity and self-determination to my mighty imperialist star-spangled nightmare of a country. My fear is not death, but what I am willing to live with. Frog in the boiling waters of now. What slavery will I endure? What curfews will I abide by? What legislation will pass, has passed my notice, and unlawful court decisions will be made, whose hedge funds walls will grow. Whose hedge funds and walls will grow while I was trying to rub some resources together to pay rent again. How many more genocides must I witness? What unspeakable crimes will be made in my name? My fear is that I will swallow my pride. If it means I will swallow some bread. That I will swallow some lies if it means my child will be fed. That I will bid my child pray to a dishonorable God. Because I fear the wrath of the church. How many generations of silence have these bloated powers gained through biological urge to protect our kin, our young, at the expense of anything, of anyone else? Oh, a dead might prevent a blow from me and my children. But my blind eye has an entire generation of children choking on pollution. If I ignite myself and stands at the steps of power, will they just sweep the ashes away like they fucking always do? Bushnell stood at the steps of power and ignited himself, and they swept the ashes away like they fucking always do. My fear is that I will keep letting them. My fear is that I will let my fear seep into my progeny, and then since I've had no time to teach them skills of bravery, they will learn fear and the ability to cog in this machine. I have ancestors who've been punished for poverty, ate biscuits and grew seasick to serve sentences in a distant country, learned to treat their neighbors, fellow sufferers, not as allies, but enemies. Is there any way to break this generational curse of silence, avoidance, and fighting, this curse of surviving? The urge to end my life, to put an end to the insanity of my living hypocrisy, feels like a moment of clarity, feels like a final fuck you, feels too good to be true. A coward's way out is how we got here in the first place. Something lighter or 5 minutes? I'll just keep on topic. I've had a lot to say about the same thing all night. The God we need. Gone, missing, never was, is the pliant goddess of subservience. Tongue clicking like knitting needles, she was not passive as she patiently wove her vengeance. We had a soft-spoken goddess who sang softly, through quiet breeze and birds, who whispered like predators that skulk and creep and sink teeth deep into rabbits, who fuck like rabbits and overrun the grasses, eat the blossoms for the bees we had. We had a quiet goddess, a make-do goddess, a goddess who scolded gently over the course of centuries. The patience of even rock wears thin as sand. And we need a God who bites back. We need a God who bites back, slaps the hand of the greedy child. No, we may not. We need a God like an avalanche, a goddess of consequence, goddess of hurricane, goddess of quiet, sharpened centuries to sit and think about what you've done. We who spoke loudly over the roaring river, now whisper by the dry creek bed. We had a goddess whose voice had grown hoarse with reminders. And now we have a God with teeth like lightning and words like hailstorms. And we need this God who gives more urgent lessons. Market translation. So this is, what's your name? Matt Clifford. We got Dreamy Boy. We got Chris Eason. We got Squids on sax, and they're all amazing people. I'm Eli Whittington. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Black Market Translation. I do see some new faces in here, so if you guys do want to be a part of the open mic this evening, there's not a physical sign-up sheet. Just let me know as soon as I hop off the mic, and I'll add you to the list, and we'll be good to go, all right? Did you guys know that May is National Mental Health Month? Did you guys know that? Well, it's true. I found out today when I was looking for poetry to read to you guys. So with that being said, this is called Mental Health by Caitlin Lancaster. People say mental health is a myth, that it's just a label that people use as an excuse. Honestly, that gets me mad. Honestly. So mad. Just because you haven't seen or experienced something doesn't make it imaginary. I, for one, have seen physical proof. It's true. I've seen it in breakdowns, of feeling hopeless, of just simply not wanting to exist. And the people I know, let alone strangers, yeah, I might not have experienced it firsthand, but I have seen self-harm on my friends. I have seen brains breaking down in stress, people crying because of something silly, people vanishing from existence to recuperate. So I advise the people saying stuff about that said stuff to do your goddamn research. That's an example of me cussing, and that's not going to end up on social media. You won't even have to do much. Just look around you. Look at the people. It's a fact that 1 in 4 people are affected by mental health issues. So seriously, it won't be hard to see. So next time you go to make a joke about mental health or to go make fun of someone who is struggling, think about it. And maybe, just maybe, just don't joke about it. Thank you. With that being said, Charlie said like Charlie. Would you like to come up? You got it. Give it up for Charlie, guys.
What up, y'all? Come on, give me a little bit more energy. Come on. A little bit louder. Come on. There we go. Yeah, as I adjust this mic real quick. So I'm gonna be a buck with y'all. I made a couple of poems as I was listening to our pre-show real quick. So these are brand new, never before. Yeah. Let's say it one more time. Hell yeah. But yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, let's see. Which one should go first? We'll use this one. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the curator of curiosities that tickle the mind, giving rise to questions and raised eyebrows when I melodically beat every syllable out of the caged chromatic prison cell because my white folks forget colibris like me can fly further than the eye can ever see. A trader of goods, my merchandise is hailed from generation upon generational wealth where words come and go, slip streaming through greedy fingers since the magic is embedded into every sentence where meanings melt through the ironclad, shut-in minds. I fashion truths spoken with corrosive alchemical properties that put Greek fire to shame. My words can't ever be tamed. Letters filled with desert winds hewn from my alabaster ancestry. Yes, to the folks in the back, I'm many things. I'm the amalgamation of failed genetic experimentations. I'm the forbearance of what happens when you try to solve your greed with eugenics. My skin tone blends in with the slave master's off-white. dirty walls, but if you look closely, my subterfuge beats to the sounds of the war drum, donde puedo cambiar de forma como la herencia de Nahual que tengo, volando como el hummingbird. My body can't be tethered, I'll always be heard. Mis ojos brillan como el jaguar esperando para atacar mi próxima presa. I'm known by many names. I'm white America's worst nightmare, the thing that goes bump in the night since no unholy religious bindings can hold me. No matter how many times you get dipped in the blood of the innocent, no matter the geographical location, since it's still tyranny from sea to shining sea. I speak in tongues for voices who are strip mined for profit margins. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Charlie. What about you? It's been a busy week for me, so yeah, I'm a little bit rusty. Yeah, you know. Oh, yeah, that was rusty. Yeah. All right, let's do this one. Say less. I'm the silver-tongued silversmith that can bend and shape every single stolen letter from the white man's lexicon to smith silver-forged barbed palabras that sting the roof of your mouth as you try to dissect the very essence that I spit. My hands are proof of the volcanic heritage passed down from my ancestors, where no heat compares to the savage chaotic furnace that pulses within my chest. Charred and blackened, my tools of the trade never fail to show the beauty of why I'm called El Colibri MC, cause people can't fail to see the magic of my jagged edge creations cut through the societal norms of what it means to be a brown homie like me. Grown from the concrete plains, my spirit can't ever be chained down. I break molds and bindings with every mystical breath I take. I'm my grandmother's greatest dream, where my alabaster impenetrable hide stands the test of time. Stabbing thorns from my poison ivy vines, my hybrid strain DNA bridges across every tragic travesty, weaving my stories and tales into existence of the world's most magical tapestry. This one, I'm gonna give y'all some context for this last one. So I was kind of inspired because one of my favorite artists of all time, Kendrick, he was involved with like a little feud. Yeah, I felt very motivated, so this comes from that. So hopefully y'all can get what I'm trying to put out. All right, Love and War. I synthesize everyday cures with a flick of my wrist, but the fleeting of afflictions is when it comes to healing of broken hearts. A perpetual malediction of trials by fire to avoid going into septic shock. It doesn't matter how much dedication there is in the act of salvation, when at the end of the day, survival is what counts and matters, never failing to shine doubt to fruitless endeavors. It's a never-ending story where the hero only gets to see fragments of shrapnel sting across his fingertips, crisscrossing jagged edges that shear through reality, the heretical tragedy inherited by a lineage rooted in chaotic planes of existence. Words speak truths into permanent establishment among the minds of the youth, where repeatedly repetitive recitations hold true to a T in this sea of not knowing what's systematically sanitizing exterior hues to be made in order to fresh out for a chopping block built for our ancestors' graves. Soy el cura de mis malestares que molestan a las cabezas blancas, quien se tapan sus rostros con valores y temores que necesitan una funda para que se mantengan encubiertos. ¿Qué tan feo ser un aspecto? Salpicando llamas de mi sangre volcánica dentro el aro de angelito mío, mis cuernos de ser un experimento barbérico. Mi figura de nahual cambia de cualquier forma sin dificultad. Mi alma corporal vuela sobre palabras sin inglés, sin barreras. Mis rimas roban las letras del colonizador para pintar obras tóxicas a la gente que le falta humildad. Les digo con toda sinceridad, kindly fuck off. There we go. And I'm done.
That was amazing, Charlie. Thank you for sharing. Mi español es muy mal, so You'll never hear me getting up here trying to speak Spanish like that. I believe I've seen you on the Sacred Voices social media like channels. So that could have been Instagram or Facebook at Sacred Voices Denver, YouTube at Sacred Voices, TikTok at Sacred_Voices, or the website sacred-voices.org. And even when I saw you on there, it was very powerful. So thank you for sharing. It's lovely to hear you in person. Having said that, Sparrow, I know you didn't want to go first, but would you be open to going second? Perfect. Give it up for Sparrow.
Well, what are we gonna do about that? I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Before I begin, I'd just like to say, kindly fuck off is a great way to start end a poem. Sorry. But in the spirit of liberation, inspired by Eli, I'm going to start with a piece that is dear to me called Welcome to the Congo. Have you ever wondered what life was like knowing death could kiss your lips at any moment? A life where tomorrow could be your luckiest day, but today is your burial. A nation where my father lived more last days than best days. There, his god of death was not Hades. His name was malaria, yellow fever, poverty, hunger, war. There, sickness was his destruction. My family uses what strength is forged to crawl into coffins. This is not Troy, my friend, but this is my father's odyssey, passed to me in the shape of a 6-inch screen with shards that have kept his lineage bleeding for centuries. Do you know who makes your iPhones and batteries possible? The Congo does. My country holds the world's cobalt in its womb. Yet our wombs remain wounded. My family picks up our pickaxes, pray for the sun to stop beating us down while we mine thousands of pounds out of the ground. The only thing being put back is our bodies. The price of our treasure is 25 trillion. They pay us $2 a day we must spend on bread to break apart in case we don't have enough for tomorrow. We kneel to Christ, beg him to break our bread into 5,000, and his miracles run stale. So we crumble at his altar, and we are left to fight the beast in our bellies with chipped teeth. We are divided by tribe, but united by grief. Tears fall from us the way African countries fell to conquerors. But we do not drown in them. There, we postpone death, and our weapon of choice is laughter. We will die today, but the chance of seeing tomorrow keeps us smiling. There, we postpone death, and our weapon of choice is dance. Move our withered bones to the boom of the goma drum like it's the last time music will ever meet us. Sincerely, Sparrow. I've got some old shit for you. I wrote this a very long time ago, and yeah, that's it. My daughter's gonna read my diaries and think I'm fucking weird and a little crazy and a major loner. Should know all the lessons I should have learned but didn't when I was supposed to, so my pages will teach that chicken noodle soup is best served cold. Socks are best worn wet. Promises are best given broken because false hope will get a friend to believe anything you want them to. My pages will teach that the warmth of a man's gaze grows cold over time. The quickest way to a woman's heart is the truth. My daughter will know everyone I ever loved and failed to do so correctly. She'll read how rejection became my friend because I didn't make an enemy of hard truths. I made an enemy of loneliness, was addicted to codependency. When it set me free, lonely became my favorite company. Then lonely told me to find community. And I did. Now I break communion with the unholy, and the holiest thing I'll ever do is break bread with the less fortunate. Less is the greatest fortune, my dear. Greed is cheap and only offers cold hands to those who don't have any to hold. My little girl will learn that friends aren't forever, and when you have to pick between a friend and a lover, pick the former. If the former doesn't stay, let them go. You'll form bonds beyond the bounds of grief. She'll know every lie I ever told, every time I should have said sorry. When I romanticize my grief, placed insanity to the quietest corners of my mind to keep the peace, I'll tell her I tried to mold a better world with bruised knuckles on hands that bled every time I held a heart that wasn't my own. I'll tell her time is a thief. If you want it back, you'll have to steal it first. She'll know I tripped and tripped and tripped on my own 2 feet when I was in pursuit of working towards what I cannot see. I wrote and wrote my life story. She'll have my diaries because I wish I had my mother's. My dear girl, I lied about the chicken shoot. Heat that shit up. Take chances. Wet socks are best worn in rain when you are dancing. Only promise when you mean it. She'll know I mean it when she reads. I tried saving the world by loving everything I wasn't supposed to, including myself. Before I read this last poem, I recently came out with a spoken word album called Little Rascal, accompanied by a zine. I have zines with me tonight, and they're just $10. Anything helps. The spirit of Elijah McClain lives through this poem. This poem is called Spider-Man. My neighborhood had a strip club. Naked women who I did not know doing what I shouldn't have known stood on the street corner I've always known with acrylics that glimmered in the dark. Claws caressed men with liquored lips who bruised the wrist blue, black like my friends who live on sidewalks, who travel from motel to motel. The motel signs hanging by a thread almost cracked my skull when I walk beneath them. My neighborhood is decorated with color. My mother used to pick clear brown windows, brown broken beer bottles, silver needles at the bottom of my boots. Growing up in my neighborhood, I did not dream to live anywhere else. I dreamed of superheroes to come save us all. Then they came, and I dreamed for them to go away. I wished for men in capes to build my friends on sidewalks, houses with walls, with a door they could call their own, but instead they built them coffee shops. I wished for Spider-Man to use his swinging webs to beat the bad guys, but instead Spider-Man swung across power lines to cut the pink Nikes hanging from them. Spider-Man was not kind to the black widows who lost their mind because they are caught in a never-ending web of grief. My neighborhood marvels at how often the good overlook the hungry. The prim disregarding the poor makes them proper. Those are the types of heroes that come around here. Supermen who murder black boys who play violin, who strip us of our resources, so we resource them, and it's an inconvenience, so they surround us till our hands are behind us. Supermen are the reason we laugh at the red lines built around our beaten lips. Then they wonder why we speak in Gotham, the children. Hope that one day we'll hear Elijah serenade again. Hope the captains sworn to serve our America will not forget to shield us this time. Hope the bullets that dance in the night sky will miss our windows this time. All I wanted was for somebody to avenge us. Instead, we have white bodies who step on dead bodies with their suits, who pretend they don't see. Will take anybody to defend us now. The black mourning mothers, my friends who live outside, and the street corner strippers are my Justice League. And I dream for them to have what they need to keep us alive.
Powerful. Sparrow, you may not have wanted to go first, but your words will last within our spirits. Thank you for sharing, sincerely. Friendly reminder, June 7th is the first Friday open mic at Lighthouse Writers Workshop. Juice actually hosts that open mic. Juice is amazing. Amazing. Yes, give it up for Juice. We love you, Juice. And so please remember, check that out June 7th. June 14th, we'll be back here for another Sacred Voices Live, and that'll be featuring Godwin. Now, having said that, who do I want to pick on next? How about Matt? How are you feeling? You feel good? Give it up for Matt.
How's it going, everyone? A little taller. I got a little old stuff and then some new stuff. My heart is a temple for my mind to be at peace. Let go of the worries and negativity. Open up and you will find that the answers were always found inside. To live free and be me is where I focus my energy. I've had my moments in the past where I thought the darkness would never pass. I've sat in my pain and watched me point all of my blame. It's time to put the beast to rest, tame the waters, and let go of the shame. I am not the man that I knew before. I am the man of today. Compassion is the key to my door to understand. Gentle with my word is how I learn to be hand in hand. I'm never alone. Take me to that promised land. Let go of the judgment that permeates my mind. Remember, it's the illusion to stop me from being kind. I won't let it win. I will do my best to be brave. I'm ready to explore the deepest parts of my cave. Thank you. So this one was came to me when I was sitting by the water. I was in Minnesota at a festival. I kind of just like took a break from all the music and just wanted to sit by the water, and the water spoke to me, and it was giving me a lot of beautiful wisdom. Leap out of fear into the water so clear. I am not about to drown. This is where I reclaim my crown. As I float to the surface, I know I am worth it. Took me some time to come to a conclusion of the racing mind directing me to live in this illusion. Water is a friend, a relationship I wish to tend. To see I am strong and life's not about to end. The deeper I sank, feels like I'm stuck in a tank of my own limitations. Let's sing a song of my new revelations. Water is sacred, please wash over my head. Water is sacred, my dear friend. Water is sacred, please wash my head. Teach me to flow with my emotion, be the locomotion to a deeper notion where the water is my token to being more open. The sun up above shines on me, reminding to see my energy in the reflection of thee. The wind whispers back to let go of the lack of the courage to take a swim, realign, and come back within. The lesson is here, let it be told in your ear. Yet I'm still on the edge when I look over the ledge, at my face that resides in the waves. Again I feel this tune under that sweet blue moon, and then I hear the call of the loon, and she says, water is sacred, please wash over your head. Water is sacred, my dear friend. Water is sacred, please wash his head. Water is sacred, my friend. I sit here in my knowing that I'm not alone. I feel this in my every bone. I don't need any sativa while I sit with Lake Geneva. I feel her calling within. I quiet my mind. Yeah, I see that fine line between darkness and that light of mine. I'm done holding so tight with all of my might, and I let go and fall into her insight. My thoughts were compiled, so I let my inner child run wild. He said, take a dive, this isn't your time to die. Had to write it on paper and do the world a favor and share this little wise tune, and it goes, water is sacred, please wash over my head. Water is sacred, my dear friend. Water is sacred, please wash my head. Water is sacred, my dear friend. Teach me to flow with my emotion, be the locomotion to a deeper notion, where the water is my token to being more open. Thank you. And this one was I wrote the other night, which got me to come here tonight. I was reading the book Four Agreements. I don't know if anyone knows that book. Love that book. And I was thinking about my projections on the world, projections onto me, how I feel rejection, and these agreements that I've let be fertile in my mind and take root that I never even wanted in the first place. Projection of rejection. Projection, noun. Presentation of an image upon a surface. Rejection, noun. The dismissing or refusing of a proposal or idea. Yeah, that's cool, but what about my belief systems on how people project their ideas into me as right or wrong? What about the projections I give myself based on not wanting to feel alone? I agree with these projections, and I reject myself. I disagree with these projections, and I reject myself. Who even created these agreements? I sit alone and I'm clear, understanding my own processes, taking time to unravel my nonsenses, mindful of chatter. Who is this Mad Hatter? I'm in a room full of friends, and they offer to smoke. Without a question, I'm hitting the toke, even though I know it's not my antidote. What if I don't and let them down? I don't want to be seen as the clown. Besides, they bought the product and did me a favor. So what will it be? What kind of flavor? If I reject, what if I'm left with neglect and have to go meet new friends? They say, don't worry, this is your story and respect me anyway. Yet I hear smoke a bowl rhymes with your last name Kroll. This is who you are. I resist, I reject myself. I persist, I reject myself. Who created these agreements? Why did I agree to these agreements? Language is an agreement, but who agreed to the agreement of language? How do you agree with agreements that you can't remember you agreed to? I need a book of my agreements so I can revise and rewrite. My soul never wanted to be deficient of light. All right. I'm leaving on this one, on the agreements thing, just a little practice. Saying these words, you are all beautiful, you are all worthy of love because you are love, and you're here with purpose. Now, if you hear these words and you're going, maybe you have some agreements in that you have to like rewrite. But if you're agreeing with me, hey, we're making trees out here. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Matt. You're like, every time I see you, you're so like chill and you're just like in the back of the room. And then I hear you express yourself, and all of a sudden it's like this calm lake. It doesn't become abrupt or like choppy waters, but it's just like, ooh, like, what's this about? And it's captivating, is what I'm trying to say, Thank you for sharing. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And Eric, how are we feeling? Feeling good? All right, let's give it up for Eric. Let's keep it going.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see everyone. I want to share 3 poems. The first one is pretty short. I guess it's topical because it's about superlatives, and there's like rap beefs going on, and superlatives are like, ooh, this is a comparison. We're doing all sorts of comparisons, but I don't know. I started thinking about superlatives because my boss would use them a lot, and then I recognized that like Donald Trump used a bunch of superlatives, and then like it's not like if you use superlatives you're like of a political stance necessarily, but then again I noticed that particular people would talk a particular way, and it would often be like, oh, that was just the greatest, that was the best, or that was the worst, and stuff like that. And so I started to think about superlatives like dire dialectics or imperial statistics, where the richest get richer and richer and richer at the expense of the poorer, and the poorest getting more poor and pouring into a bigger, bitter best, most as objective objectives, as subjective ejections, as projective rejections of least less, each suffix fixing most terribly to know the est of the ist, like sexiest sexist, or raciest racist, or classiest capitalist, or lobbyist. How shall I contrast everybody's or nobody's bodies? Maybe like permutation mutations, like generalized exaggerations, like exponential existential crises, reiterated, rehashed repetition, repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated against again, until truly true, until holy, 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 only until most high taken way beyond away, as worst always seems to worsen. Thank you. This next poem, I don't know, all of my poems start with language, and I have like a fixation on words, and I was really fixated on this word, defense. I think we hear defense a lot in a lot of different contexts. And I think by and large, we hear that word because it's like a sanitized word. It's just like, oh yeah, defense, of course, you just defend yourself. And the thing about defense is that in its etymology, it means to hit, to hit back. But there's always the hitting. And for me, I want to move beyond like the offense-defense binary. I want to move beyond hitting. I want to move beyond violence. I want something else. So I wrote this poem. It's called Left to Fend. The defense industry is the fence industry, fencing for defense. The best offense is an expensive defense, better at our expense. The defense budget, the offending budget, the gross national, the gross domestic that taxed us penniless, that taxed and punished us, that left us defenseless, left us as leftovers, left us no leftovers, left us as feckless, reckless finches with clipped left wing, clipped right wing, unbudging budgeting in the West Wing that left us without rights. The right to defend left us to fend for ourselves, because the right to defend is the right to offend, is the right to fend, is the right to fence. And what does offense fence in? Fence out, add, offense, subtract, offense, multiply, offense, divide, offense, prioritize, defense, make prior offenses, prioritize the fence, make property priority, prioritize profits, make prior people. Fix offense into defense, fit us into the fences, pick a picket fence to picket, to defend, to hit, to strike. Fencing with double-edged swords, fencing with offensive, dense words, dual-wielding, unyielding fencers, fencing to fight, fencing to duel, fencing to kill. Defense forces, wielding force to force a yield, defense forces, forcing an offensive, defense forces, forcing more defenses. Defense necessitates force, necessitates fences, and the fences say, fend for yourself, say, yourself is offensive. No. Just know, ultimately, that the defense industry is indefensible, and henceforth an offense left in dust. I want to do one more if that's cool. This one, I was on the bus. I'm a bus rider. I'm a non-driving gay, as I like to call myself. And I got bored one time, and I just came up with this game. And it wasn't a fun game. It just was not a fun game. This is the game. The game is count the cameras. And the only rule is that we have to see each other for it to count. The we being us and the cameras. And it's a game I play on my public transit with transfers 1, 2, 3 commute. And in the time of the poem, it was already 9 a.m. and the count was 21. And I caught the A line downtown, cataloging 5 more accounts of state-sanctioned cinematography. And I'm not even including our phones. Mine is a Cyclops. Has a little green eye that winks at me when we're cozy and alone. Hello. Sometimes I give it direct eye contact. Sometimes I perform a show. Sometimes I give it something to remember. If you feel like you are being watched, you are. Soon to be. At the mercy of algorithms and virality, the Clock app gifts us 15 seconds of infamy, infinitely autoplayed until it is our turn to steal the sound and record a scene for power. Punishment is a slap on the wrist, a drop of the lawsuit, a biting of time, a wreck for the record. How large must the stack of evidence be to tip? How long will it take us to comb the archive of exponential footage? Fickle eyewitness, look, aperture overture, look, perpetual panopticon, look, optical illusion, look, every train station has at least 10. Look, every train car has 5. Look, every bus has 3. Look, every intersection has 2. Look, just look around you. More cameras dangling from lampposts on street corners. Even this poem is one more limited perspective from my point of view. Look, admittedly, I lost count after 40. It's 10:20, and I'm on the corner of 18th and Lawrence waiting for the 52. The crosswalk underneath my feet says, look. A woman nearby begins to speak unprompted. And at first I think she's talking on her phone, but given what she said, I am also a camera. Look, people need to do 2 things. 1, mind your goddamn business. 2, stay in your fucking lane. People always want to try and control me, even here, even waiting in line at the shelter. I am not safe. What a terrible way to live.
What am I supposed to say to that? Eric, I don't know you personally, and I was standing in the back of the room. I don't know if you can see me, but I went from like those kind of faces, and it comes from my love of hip hop. So that's the stank face means like you were killing it. So just so you don't think like, why is she looking at me like that? Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Yes, just man. I hope that camera talk didn't make anybody paranoid in here, but it definitely got me thinking about some things. We are at the point of our evening where it is time to get to our featured artist. I know, right? Whoop, give it up, give it up, give it up. Now, our featured artist this evening is Alex. Alex is a learner, first and foremost, based here in Denver, Colorado, an artist of various mediums. They enjoy, among many things, reading, writing erotic fiction, traditional Japanese dancing, drawing, painting, cooking, music making, and singing, all to highly varying degrees of success. I love that, Alex. I love that. In the past, they've been selected for a handful of publications, including the CU Boulder's Honors Journal, good for you, Walkabout Journal, yes, and Bleeding Thunder's Zine. Nowadays, Alex continues to learn and grow and expresses their growth along with their grief, joy, and rage through artistic activities such as dancing with the Denver Minyo Kai. Yes. Participating in various community events, singing when they think no one else can hear them. We can hear you. And trying not to get embarrassed when someone does. And performing spoken word poetry sporadically with artist communities like Shades of Honey and Sacred Voices. Please, with all your might, give it up for Alex.
Hi. Hey everybody, I'm Alex. I use they, them pronouns. Real excited to be doing this. I've been a big fan of Shades of Honey. Oh my God, Sacred Voices. Good Christ, I'm not even Christian. I've loved, I've loved Sacred Voices for a while. This has been a really impactful space for me. So it means a lot to be here now, and also to be here with some poets that I know and love. So, anyways, I have a lot of poems. I didn't really choose a specific order for them. Maybe we should have y'all choose. I got like a lot of different themes here. We can go with the theme of like liberation and community, and also like, hey, why aren't you talking a lot? We could go with Godzilla. We could go with sexual trauma. We could go with more sexual trauma. We can go with more racial trauma. We can go with more racial trauma, gaslighting, etc., etc. What are we thinking for Godzilla? Okay, let's get started with Godzilla. You guys are unlucky you actually chose the one that I've never performed before, so this is technically new shit, so. Yeah. Your name is Godzilla, and the weight of your footsteps echoes in my skin. You leach through my veins and pulses, little bursts that burn when people take words like Fujoshi that mean something to my people and twist them into something evil. When they adore my art, but still call my people perverts, make sneering comments on about how all my people are all obsessed with young girls and breasts, mock our porn even though I know you watch it. When they tell me my culture was a mistake, I wish sometimes my fingers could sprout your claws so I could reach them. I took a class to try to piece together how you'd rooted in my flesh. Woke up every Monday morning at 6 a.m. to learn about the environment in Japanese literature. Read stories about what it means to see a person's flesh melt while they still lived. Pored over documents that proved Americans knew what the bombs would do and dropped them anyways. How they did the math and decided that 300,000 of my people's lives were only worth a message to Russia. Most days I left class shaking. When my classmates walked around me, already making plans for lunch, I knew they wouldn't understand, but I saw skyscrapers in their shapes, and I pictured glass crushing in my palms. That same semester, I watched Anthem, a musical about internment by George Takei, with my family in a near-empty theater. The only other people in there were Japanese American. What a surprise. I think about the way I watched the characters die for this country, even though their fellow soldiers refused to call them by their names. And I thought about how all of my elders have American names. Not Kiyoshi, but Harry. Not Teruko, but Terry. And I felt acid stream down my cheeks and spill into my mouth. I learned more about internment that day than I had ever learned in school. I wish I held more of you inside of me. I think about your size, the way that you spanned buildings, tails scraping the heavens, and every time we spoke of internment and eyes turned to me, every time a teacher claimed it wasn't as bad as the Holocaust, I pictured your scales dripping down my skin to shelter me. Every time I insisted that the bombs were not a fair vengeance for Pearl Harbor, I wished that the depth of your roar was echoed in my voice, and maybe it was, because when I heard my teachers claim the bombs were democratic, I could feel my throat splinter with the heat of my rage. Sometimes you come when I'm not ready. When I stood on the stage as Rosie the Riveter, the star of the show, and heard that actor call out his lines about how we were beating the Japs, my blood was your roar in my ears, and it made my fingertips tremble. These white people love you the way they love a new pair of shoes. The aesthetic is what matters, not the places they were taken from or the bodies it took to get there. When I see King of the Monsters, watch how white Americans try to forgive themselves for how they ripped you from the ocean and burned you till you seeped warheads from your flesh and you tore through Tokyo in your rage. When I see how they twisted your scales to fit something cute, something to solve the problem of climate change that their money and industrial greed caused, I feel Sarazawa's shape and the size of my elders whose backs are bowed to half my height. And I know they will never deserve your mercy. I know you're more than your rage. I try to remember how my mother loves you. She gushes about the way your roundness touches her heart. A fat, grumpy beast she's always rooted for, even at the expense of every human you may crush. She sees friendship in your shape, just as my father sees power in your nemesis, keeps an ancient Ghidorah figurine in their room with wings lovingly tacked on, but every Halloween, a young boy walks past me in a little ninja costume, and his mother scurries around me, glancing my way in fear, and I know you could never be Captain Planet to me. So that's the first one. What's the theme we want to go with next? Like I said, it was your options are. Oh, actually, I do have a love poem. We also have sexual trauma and grief and more anger. Grief. Okay, let me see which one is the most griefy. Actually, it's probably this one. It's a good question. A lot of my grief is kind of blending into like a lot of other things. I have a lot of feelings. Anyways, this one is called Cobwebs. It's one of my favorites. Last fall, I gathered all the loose threads I'd shoved underneath my bed and started braiding them together. I held each knot between my fingers and framed them in gold, refusing to untangle a single strand. I worked late into the night, watching the glow of my candle dissolve into my skin, and when I was finished, I wrapped my head in shrouds and showed my creation to the world, and they all cheered. And I cried. What is reclamation but reverence for the profane? For so long, I'd been taught to fear the shape of my own desire, tearing apart the messy, loose-knit scarves I'd made as a teen, armed with buzzwords and logic so sound I couldn't recognize the whiteness inherent in my desire to shame, reveling and controlling which bodies were worthy of pleasure. It wasn't until after, long after, when I stumbled into my rage that I rediscovered the shape of my own devotion. I learned to trace my skin where it teeters on the border between sacred and obscene, and I leaned into it. I dipped my fingers into pastels, watched a decadence like shame seep off my fingertips and dry into claws, and I tied ribbons around each wrist and called them beautiful, and I meant it. Then in April, I spent 2 weeks unable to walk. On the worst day, I hunched over in the shower and looped a finger inside my body. Shaking as I pulled the ribbons from where they had wrapped around the holes in my hip bones, I watched in the mirror as my skin turned gray, and when I opened my mouth, my lips cracked apart. I had honored the desire in my soul only for my own body to pull my shrine inwards and tear it to shreds. The reality is, I am not a stranger to my own body's betrayal. I know what it means to tremble at the unfamiliarity of my shape, but I am still reeling. I ask you, what space is expansive enough for my rage? How do you grieve a body that craves the memory of betrayal over its own rebirth? They say you're supposed to love yourself the way a god loves an altar. So what candles do I light? What incense can I burn? What chants can I spit? How can I strike the wood and my palms together to call forth enough love for the parts of me the world is too afraid to touch? These ribbons are love letters I sent to a body tangled in loose threads. You can't patch a wound if you don't know how to sew. Okay, so that's the second one. I really want to do this one because on top of being Mental Health Awareness Month, it is also Asian American Heritage Month, So this one is a call out to all of the Asian Americans and especially Asian American organizations that have not spoken up about any of the genocides that are ongoing that we are paying for. So that's what this poem is specifically about. I just want to make that absolutely clear to every Asian American org that has not spoken up. This is to you, okay? All right. Anyways, getting that off my chest. So this one is called Flower into Ash. When I was little, my Auntie Oki let me shuffle across the grainy linoleum of her floor and dig through the warm, dry brown earth with her for leftover onions. I think of the rusty toy I spun on in her front yard, how the squeak tasted the same as my babanoy's bokho, softening the old French bread she helped me rip into chunks. I taste the soft, tender squish of koroke and egg rolls, and I wonder what grief sounds like when you relearn its shape with your two hands. I dance covered in thick brocade silk and flutter gilded paper with careful hands, but though my obi binds my spine tall and I wield my fans like blades, I bow my head and wonder who it is I'm fighting for. Weeks ago, my father took me in his arms and told me that the world was destined to burn itself to the ground. He told me everything would be okay as long as Trump was kept from office. I tried to reconcile this stranger with a toddler whose mother had to flee with him from Phan Thiet as Americans dropped endless bombs ahead. I should have asked him. My father, you are a scientist. You know the spectrum of colors make up white. How can you not pick apart the white phosphorus to see the rainbow herbicides beneath? How do you grieve when your own people run from their rage? The manju I learned to bake, I no longer want to share with the people who taught me how to make it. I'm told it isn't fair to turn my kitchen knives on the people who taught me how to wield them, but I watched blocks of my people stream through Tokyo and Osaka for murdered refugees and martyrs on my phone, and I look up to see familiar faces so devoid of soul that the shock turned the rice to ash in my mouth. I know I shouldn't be surprised. I have spent a lifetime watching my own people pull the word concentration from their mouths and replace it with internment. Listen to the children of migrants weaponize their hard-working status like their anti-blackness would protect them from the empire. I can no longer sit in the spaces I was raised in without wallowing in despair. I tell myself I am too busy letting my grief burn me alive to waste my time drowning, but I don't want to get out of bed anymore, and my head feels fuzzy and full, and I find myself most nights staring at the ceiling, wondering how to build community if I've only known its ghost after sacrificing my soul. Now, when I smell sandalwood incense, my nose tingles with the chemical burn of Agent Orange, and I watch my family smile as their noses bleed. The crunch of tonkatsu is the crumble of flesh underfoot, and I listened to my family's laughter loud enough to drown out the sound of grief as barrel bombs continue to drop on Darfur, as teens are crushed under rubble beyond recognition, as coltan burns tiny black hands alive. Why don't they care? I look at their faces and wonder if they've abandoned the vocal cords that let them scream, or if I've gotten too numb to their pain to recognize its shape under their skin. Addendum. Only yesterday, I learned my mother had placed the cranes I gave her on display in the town's library, arranging them carefully so that the names of each martyr were visible. Today, she asked me, yet again, to forgive my sister for her apathy in the face of our evil. Unyielding self-accountability without self-policing or weaponizing shame is a process I have yet to see in my own action, let alone with anyone I've come to hold space with. And in doing so, nowhere is resilient enough to withstand the weight of our rage. I think of the quiet, grim intent of my aunt as I spoke, how she asked me what, if anything, could be done to stop it. And I wonder if, in forgetting home, I've mistaken vengeance for justice, or if I've only ever lied through my teeth about knowing the difference. Okay, how much time do I have left? Where did, oh no. Many poems left? Okay. Okay, well, I still have the love poem. I have the one specifically directed at white feminists. I have the one that is also a grief poem. It's okay. I have one about gaslighting and one about seasons and also like body parts and a love poem. I think, did I mention that already? Anyways, which one do y'all want to hear next? There's the love poem. Okay, something more lighthearted. This one is called Unnamed. I didn't know that people could glow like that. I can't decide if your fingers are evening stars, little lanterns pricking velvet and maroon clouds like needles, or sunflowers, warm, an embrace drenched in sunlight, the kind of summer heat that makes its home on my brow. The way you pick me up and twirl me around, I see you and I want violets, to twine them together, gentle, careful not to bruise their fragile green stems, and lay them to rest at your ears. Not because you would cast them off, but because you would take them home, cradling them in your palms, and pin them to your wall, gazing up at their petals as they drown in dry air. Whoops. This isn't healthy. I don't want to fear the prick of your thorns. No matter how many times you promise me they will not pierce your skin, I know you could not bring yourself to love the tiny green spider in my chest with its twitchy legs and peacock pedipalps. I've never wanted to hurt you. For me, I will feed my heart flies with still beating hearts and water my foxglove with silk-stained skin. Sorry, couldn't read that for a second. Just let me hold your hand. I will never ask for anything more. A tiny key glistens between my lips. I was never going to tell you. Cool. Do you guys want to hear the seasons poem next, or do you want to hear the... How much time do I have left? Another 15 minutes? Okay. I guess I got 2... I want to do... Oh, let's go with the poem about white feminism. Cool. Okay. This one also includes sexual assault, so if you need to step outside the room, please do so now. Cool. Okay. All right. To the cisgender feminists who came to pay their respects to my body after I was raped. 1, you are not welcome at my wake. I send no invites for the scum who call my brethren gender traitors, who claim my sisters are a threat to other girls. Even when I am in pieces, I will not let you break their hearts when you hold yourself away from them, convinced that the tremble in your breath is from rational fear and not the morbidity of your hatred. Ready to set my people on fire to keep yourself warm. 2, do not speak at my memorial. How dare you raise your voice after you stole the language of consent from my black and brown family, took a culture of liberation from my sex worker siblings in the name of saving them, brainwashed our children into mocking my fellow kinky survivors for grief. How dare you wield our gifts to each other against us, believing only the survivors you like and still think yourself deserving of a voice in our spaces. 3, do not bow your head when my minister begins to chant. I am certain you will steal my sutras, that you will take my temple's gong with you when you leave. How could I trust your integrity when you took my culture and swooned over its aesthetic, but still claimed its inherent pedophilic, homophobic, and sexist nature and tried to gatekeep who gets to enjoy it? 4, do not come to my house bearing any gifts. I do not want the transphobia hidden in your claims to abolish gender or to love only vulvas. I have no use for the white supremacy you took from your house, not your carceral gluttony for punishment or for everyone you perceive to be a perpetrator, not your desire to free black and brown women from black and brown men, not in your obsession with biological sex and gender roles despite your role in their enforcement. Besides, if you had anything worthwhile to say, you probably stole it from a black woman before you arrived and had twisted it until we could no longer recognize its shape. 5, do not stand at my grave and weep. You know nothing of my gender socialization. I am not an alternate version of womanhood. My body-mind does not know the taste of a misogyny that was not shaped by transphobia. It has only known the grief of a binary that both cis men and women work to inflict. Don't misunderstand. I hold no hatred for your mere existence. But make no mistake, I will not let you turn the shape of my legacy into your shadow. 6. I didn't die. Stop speaking about me as if I'm not here. Okay. And I have one left, and I think it's the only one I have time for. So this one's going to be the one that I realized that I completely forgot that I put at the very end, which is about growth. Yay. Okay, it's called Hermit Crab. If I think back, I can only remember a handful of times I outgrew my seashell so fast my body ached. The morning I stared at the ceiling, blood ringing in my ears, when he pushed his fingers inside of me. The afternoons I curled up on my temple floor with my legs folded beneath me and realized there was nowhere I could hide. The evenings I saw a child be shot and could not hear my mother's voice in my ears when she called me to dinner. The night I sprinted across the street, fingers frozen in the cold, and fell to my knees in crumbled ice. Each time I remember my back swelling even as my skin turned blue and purple, shocked into fleeing from the pain of my own body-mind's betrayal. Most of the time, this doesn't happen. Growth engorges the flesh like summer storms. Spattering across the ground in singular raindrops, I used to lay out on the concrete, warmed by the sun that peeked through the gray clouds, sleepy and warm until I woke up cold and drenched. It takes so many moons for me to look in the mirror and find myself unrecognizable. I did not want to know where I've outgrown myself until my shell house pinches my belly and makes my limbs creak too loudly to ignore. I pay no attention to the way the roof leaks until it cracks overhead. How many milliseconds does it take to shed each dying flake of skin? I imagine them bursting from my flesh like snowflakes, like slow dying showers of petals. It's easier to ignore the mold growing on my windowsill than admit how long I let the spores sit there. I wonder if I have the strength in me to admit it needs to be thrown out and what it will take to replace it. Things are different now. I've changed, or maybe not quite yet, but I want to believe it. If I smash open my shell, I wonder if I'll see that I've changed down to my marrow. I hope so, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. Should I strip down to my bones and see particles of ice freezing me in place, as there always has been, I know there is enough desire in my stomach to melt me down and smelt myself anew. I think that's probably time. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you for listening to my poetry. I'm very surprised that I didn't cry this time. Usually I do. So, woo. Okay. That is okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Charlie. All right. Okay. We're cool. Do I? Okay. I'm just gonna go.
Our featured performer, Alex. One more time. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. May I just say, I love your sense of humor is how I take it, right? Like it's you hit some really serious topics and some really serious focal points, and then you splash this humor in there that's just like, and it just feels good. It feels refreshing. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Seriously. And obviously we all can relate. There is nothing wrong with crab walking through life. Good to hear that. Well, you did amazing. Thank you again for being here and for being the featured guest artist this evening with Sacred Voices. Again, as you can see on the screen, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We don't know how long TikTok is going to be around, guys, so come on, follow. And with that being said, another friendly reminder, June 7th, First Friday open mic at Lighthouse Writers Workshop. Juice will be hosting over there. Juice does a great job over there, so please check it out. And then we'll be back here again June 14th at the next Sacred Voices Live, and that will be featuring Godwin. With all that being said, if you do not want us to release any of your footage to social media, let us know so we can work with you on that, make sure we honor that. And with that being said, thank you everybody for sharing. Tonight's lineup was amazing. amazing, 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 amazing. So you guys get home safe, or wherever you're going safe. Have a great night, great night, great night, and we'll see you next time. I don't know. New shit. Yeah, because we don't know what's about to happen. All right, y'all take care. Have a great night.